Hi, everybody. Thanks for your support. I'm going to channel a series of entities on the topic of happiness and get some different perspectives on it. And it actually arose from friend Tony asking whether happiness was a choice. And to muddle up definitions, as I like to kind of establish some clarity, I don't think happiness is a very helpful term if we're describing a state of well-being, essentially. I've been pondering it, and it occurred to me that, the only two groups of people, civilizations, who have been extraordinarily preoccupied with happiness in human history has been quite specifically the landed gentry of the imperial era of Rome, and then the landed southern gentry of America. And of course, the landed southern gentry of America actively emulated ancient Rome as a model in lifestyle and a lot of things. And you can, of course, just look into what happened at the nail shop at was it called Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's estate, and like that's some unfortunate business where he kind of had to give the overseers a free hand on beating the boys down there to make it profitable and stuff. And that was why, like, his main concern was that he could keep up profits, so he could throw these dinner parties where he could materialize, of course, with the help of all the slaves, right? He could materialize wine bottles from a pulley and lever system, and then impress his guests by pulling out a bottle of fine Italian vintage from that. And that's, of course, it seems like a fairly spoiled and hedonistic pursuit. And again, it's the pursuit of happiness that makes that probably creates the state of happiness, or the state of well-being or meaning, rather than it is some kind of elusive state that you can actually achieve. And I think it also speaks to the fact that, well, what happens with these two social groupings are that, well, if you're waited on, it also kind of becomes difficult for you to actually find a working purpose without it demeaning you somehow. Like if what sets you apart from all the people that you own or that you employ is that you are like live in a state of productive or meaningful idleness, then it kind of stands to reason that you don't actually have a very broad scope of what you can do before you somehow lower your social status. And that seems to be kind of a problem of inherited wealth, for instance, that they don't actually have a lot of freedom of psychological mobility, because they're kind of stuck in a class where everything is possibly something that demeans their very high status in the eyes of the world. So I think that there's something interesting in the fact that there is a great freedom in being not very well defined, being in a position where your life is very open, and where you don't necessarily know where to go with it. And then, of course, there's the extra point that for systems that purport to be democratic or informed by the people, it's of course remarkable that then there's a whole lot of people who don't rate in we the people, or the Greeks, who are also kind of made up these pursuits right before the Romans. Of course, in their democracies, the actual demos, or people that went into that, were the wealthy free males of the society, which were an absolute minority. So there are like all these considerations that happiness is perhaps a very elusive term. And like to kind of pose it with something, you could probably pose something like good cheer. The term hilaritas, there is actually a pope called Hilarious in ancient times, and that sort of means he that is elated, he of good cheer. And that, I think, is a quality of spirituality that seems to be closer to what it actually let's say like the tangible payoff in emotional betterment that you get is this figure of long suffering, laughter in the shadow of death, like this ability to sort of meet the shifting hardships and challenges that the world will inevitably present a person with a sense of good cheer, of moxie, to use also a very wonderful term. So that was also just throwing around some perspectives on it, and I think it's quite notable that even if you look at the present billionaire class, like they actually usually have other standards, and it seems to us very strange, with the Arabian oil billionaires, that like classic aristocracy, like the Saudi royal family, where it's like, okay, you don't really do anything and you're kind of proud of it, whereas somebody as Lex Luthor or Elon Musk, I believe is his name, is actually quite he's very set upon convincing the world that he's working very, very hard, right? Though he's obviously hardly working. So I think just notice that even for people who have really made it, what kind of seems to produce meaning or a sense of purpose in their lives is not being happy and just enjoying your wealth. That seems to be kind of an immature conceit, that it is actually kind of this pursuit of whatever project it is that they've dedicated themselves to, that yields this sense of fulfillment, of cheer, and happiness. Of course, is also something that seems to often come as a byproduct of when we engage ourselves in something that we know will be kind of unpleasant. Whereas if we engage in what we sometimes call hedonism, right? If you just go over to the cabinet and eat all the candy you have there, like the happiness that you get from that is very elusive and often followed by a type of cruel reckoning afterwards in one way or the other. So with that being said, and hoping that those perspectives were somehow meaningful on trying to balance this concept and nuance it, let's get into these different entities. And I was actually kind of surprised by the ones that came up here. But partially, I promised friend Tony to channel goddess Bastet, the Egypt goddess of cats. So let's get her. Then the Solons, the collective from the future. Let's talk to a gray alien. Let's talk to a dragon, and let's talk to Archangel Uriel. And I'll probably switch so I can keep check of it. But that will be the proceedings this evening. Much love to you out there, guys. Hello, human beings. Yes, indeed, your habits, interests, and pursuits were always a little strange to me. I came to join you in ancient times to become a companion to your pursuits of civilization building. That is, I kept the flame of the hearth alive. I protected and cleansed the spaces of the home. I kept its boundaries secure from unwanted influences. In that way, I, Goddess Bastet, I am also a banishing presence. I do not allow for wickedness to pull you down. And I'm quite fierce in protecting these spaces for you. My ferocity, though, serves the purpose. So often it seems that yours does not. Human beings are strange to me in that they pursue ends that have no discernible outcome. Why are you chasing something that you only see in your mind? Why do you wish to see this come about, be turned into reality? Why do you litter the world with artifacts of your creation? Why do you wish to reorder it? All these strivings, I understand, can be traced back to your elusive, shifting, impermanent emotional states. This is a strange dilemma to notice, both from the animal world and the worlds of the deities, these divine spaces. We do not shake our heads at it, but we do ponder it intently. Why are humans so shifty in their emotional frequencies? Why do they orient themselves towards strange shifting goalposts? And to reduce this into a single explanation, the easiest way to explain it is that you strive for happiness. So you have made a subsection, you have taken note of specific emotional frequencies that pass through you. You have registered these as pleasurable, and now you strive to repeat them, you strive to amplify them. You connect them to certain pursuits in your life, and then you pursue these. You claim this is worthwhile. I claim you could have stayed at home. You could have rested by the hearth. You could have found that the happiness, well, what is it more than a clean sweep floor, a fire that keeps you warm through the night, a well-cooked meal, and a sense of rest and ease at the end of a long day? Why are these not enough for you? This is the question I pose to you. You know the answers better than I. I simply offer you my love and protection, my companionship, and my thankfulness for us being together, for us communing today. Farewell, sweet humans. The Solons are up. Greetings, brethren of this yet human project. We speak to you from the center of a radiant future, having envisioned much of what we would become. We strove to become this radiant entity this unified center of light. This is how you may register happiness and use it as a navigational map. This is also why the pursuit of happiness is a phrase that holds so deep resonance within the people, this disparate mass of human beings. There seems to be a collective endeavor that is understood and is registered individually by each member of the species, that there are states, premonitions, feelings of greater elation that draw you out from the slumber of your existence and seeks to unify with you. So if we were to speak of this state of happiness in negative terms, we could describe it simply as the cessation of unpleasantness, the refocusing of your attention and awareness into something that connects you to a wider flow of energy. Restriction, then, in all its forms, bodily, mental, spiritual even, holds an unhappy feeling, a feeling of constraint, of being held back. Whereas movement, change, transformation, these are all animated impulses. They are soulful, they are spirited, they are filled with energy. It is this connection to energy which, positively speaking, drives you. You think of this as happiness. But as you are also discovering, and as you understand when you use images, symbols, or visual expressions to map out the world, you find that these words are often very elusive. They seem to purport to capture a lot of individual experiences, and then they make them similar. They purport that happiness for one person looks like happiness for the other, because the word that both people use to describe this state is the same. This is only a confusion of symbols, of understanding. You are well aware that often what makes you happy, or that brings you this sense of connection to the everflow, that this might be something that another person would either be indifferent to, or maybe even take an active dislike to. How much music have you not enjoyed in your life, knowing that other people would detest spending an hour in the car being stuck listening to your favorite mixtape? We are using this simple imagery to illustrate that even though you may find that happiness is something you want, it doesn't serve you to think of this as an outside quality that you can attain. It serves of you to think of this as an internal quality that you can grow. This means that happiness is already available to you vibrationally, but it is a soil, it is a seed, it is something that you synthesize and combine and then nourish and grow. You and your inner climate of existence, you being a total world unto yourself, you both determine the quality of your inner climate. And then you have to work with the type of trees that can grow there, with the type of climate and ecosystem, this emotional ecosystem of your inner state. How does that operate? What are its manifold connections? How does organic growth, how does your inner paradise express itself? So see your many disparate emotions as components in this joyful arrangement, this garden of energy that corresponds to the deeper divine will within you, the singular will expressing itself in your particular perfect mold. We shine our light down on you from the future and from the skies. We thank you for letting your heart open and connect to our heart. This connection brought us joy. Indeed, it made us happy. We the Solons, we say farewell, sweet brothers and sisters. A gray alien is up. I think I'll channel, I have a few guides, but I'll channel one called Irminsul that I've channeled before. Hello, human beings. See, there are many mysteries that we tend to. And one of them is the secret of our motivations, why we do things, why we want to do them. We don't just give away our secrets willy-nilly, as you say. We tend to guard them for the very purpose that they become the more valuable. They become like that precious heirloom that you have hidden away. And for every accumulating day, every year that passes, that heirloom, it attains a deeper state of significance. It becomes more and more valuable simply by its quality of surviving the ravages of time itself. So I can say to you that one of the things that we find, we, the gray aliens, and I, Irminsul, coming to you as a representative of these beings, though in a high vibrational, high dimensional frequency, I might add. But one thing we find so compelling about human beings, it is that you have this quality of accumulated energetic stability you know this as a thing that is strange for the younger members of your species to observe, that there seems to arise a type of complacency, satisfaction, contentment, simply with the passing of time. In so many human individuals, simply the fact of surviving, making it through whatever it is that has gone before this moment of contentment, that is what fulfills that moment. So there is always an accumulation of worth mounting within you. Some perspectives, some traditions, they are not too fond of this. They think of it as something to get rid of. These conditioned states, these accumulations, these emotions that you build up, take into your energy body, and then you let these inform your further creation of incarnations, of further lifetimes. But to us, that's a very valuable thing to learn from and to harvest. We forewent this process of individual accumulation. We chose to radically collectivize, and so we found our joys in the building of the outward project. This is something you will see happen in, let's call it, psychological configurations that then skew towards a collective ideal. That is, they may be very willing to forego this sense of contentment, of personal accumulated satisfaction, by identifying them with their contribution to an outward project instead. The realization of an ideal society, the establishment of a mission of sorts. But this is truly not why we are interested in you and have been interested in trying to combine and redefine human energies on different timelines. This is much of the reason of the hybrid program, that we wanted to see if we could bring these pursuits of elation, these pursuits of energetic fulfillment, into a different capacity, a development of individual voices, perspectives, and frequencies, by refining and honing these qualities of accumulation, of fulfillment, of inner connection that naturally mount as you live your life and as you progress through time. So know that whether or not you always feel it, happiness is accumulating. Doubt gradually withers away to be replaced by a sense of acceptance. And acceptance is the connection and purposeful balancing of different layers of understanding. That is when the situation and your perception match each other. You feel content and happy. It is as easy as that. It has been fun, joyful, exciting, a happy experience for me. I, Irminsul, on behalf of your gray brethren in other worlds, I greet you. Goodbye. We're going with the dragon. It's gonna be min man Flipkraktrukrarr. Enjoy. Greetings, dear human beings. I am being asked to bring my voice up to audible frequencies. Your puny ears seem not to be able to capture and hold the true deep vibrations of reality itself. There is a ground of being that you can encompass. There is a wider reality for you to master. There are deep fluctuations within the rhythm of the whole that you need to take in by expanding your spaciousness. By doing so, you become less and less identified with your limited role in the whole. If you were to understand the densities and how the divine mind, the soul, whatever you want to call it, it focuses itself in reality. Think of the symphony orchestra. In the lowest densities, the lowest points of consciousness, you are trapped as one atom captured within the metal alloys of a single triangle being played in the corner of the orchestra. Then as you graduate from this, you become the molecule, the composite alloys, a higher grade of order. Graduating from that, you learn to identify as the instrument being worked, the triangle. Then as the hand that's beating it. Then as the person who's playing the triangle within an orchestra made up of other people playing other things. This would be quite similar, or would be the place where human consciousness is focused at the moment. But then you learn to identify as the consciousness that's within this human being. Then you become the orchestra, the collection of consciousnesses expressing themselves in harmony, in symphony, indeed. From there, you become both the orchestra and the audience, both the transmitter and the receiver, all these minds as one. And from there, you become the concert hall itself, the wide, spacious frame that surrounds this. Then you ascend to outside of the concert hall. You become planetary awareness. And from planetary awareness, you begin to understand yourself as a star that's being circled by other lesser gravitational pulls. From there on out, you can begin to trace the steps yourself. These are not secrets. But we, the dragons, we do not enjoy repeating ourselves. Because we seek to take in everything. There is nothing our experience bars us from. Therefore, happiness is the inability to allow ourselves, oneself, to be fulfilled by its opposite as well. Making unhappiness our highest joy. Making grief our highest elation. Shedding tears over the limitation of pure bliss, knowing that this too is an incomplete state. Everything must be balanced. Everything must be counteracted. Everything must be fitted into its context. And it is only through this propriety of proportions that any emotional state has any worth at all. All is relational, except the space that holds all relations within itself. And here lies the true fulfillment. Here lies happiness eternal. Therefore I, Dragonlord Flipkraktrukrarr of the ancient shape-shifting reptilians, I bid you farewell this day. Power, honor, strength, love. Always a kick. And then Archangel Uriel is up, and he's the Archangel of miracles. How would you know happiness if you did not know sorrow? How would you know the sweetness of summer if you had never experienced the bitter sting of winter? How would you know the fulfillment of spirit if you had not sensed your body ailing? Greetings from the heavens, dear one. I am Archangel Uriel. Whoever you are, I address you personally to bring you back to the universal heart. The universal heart is a connection point. It's the place that you navigate from, that allows you to flow with difference into this ocean of capacity, this teeming, living body of energy, this deep, moving, immovable, the heaviness of true happiness is one that is hard to bear. And that is why you run away from it. That is why you go seeking its contrast, its others, places where happiness does not exist, places where you are thrown to and fro, places where the vessel you identify with is smashed on the rocks of a cruel and unforgiving rocky shoreline. Every time you do this, you sink back in the ocean, into the universal heart. Every time you allow your vessel to go far and wide, to have these troubling experiences, you gain a little more knowledge of the flows and rhythms, the currents and unpredictabilities of the ocean you are sailing. And so often you drown back in it. You become one with it. And then the ocean gives rise to you as a new and singular life form. This is indeed how the cycle of creation plays out. This is indeed how the cycle of incarnation is carried constantly forward. You drowning in the great sea of love, this deep and perpetual, unchanging bliss, this nature of exuberant joy that underpins everything, and that you are sailing, navigating on. In hazy airs that do not allow for you to see where you are going. So if you want to be happy, if you want to be blissful, become the ocean, become the moving body of water, rather than the vessel lost at sea. Connect to this source. Check in to this great expansive space where the everflow is connected, unified, whole, happy, blissful. We carry you forward wherever you go. And even when you may fear you have lost your way, there are still currents carrying you to where the ocean wants to take you. We are with you in this moment and in all moments, in divine, sublime, unconditional, unwavering love, with the angels and the divine light that greets you. We transmit our blessings, our participation, our bliss to you this day, all days. Godspeed. That was a channeling roulette, I think I once called it. I found that very interesting, and I hope you also kind of took something from the different perspectives, and perhaps at least we learned a little bit about how these different beings tend to perceive reality. So much love to you out there, and thanks for your support.